Welcome to the Content Amplified podcast, brought to you by Masset. Our goal is to help you get more from your marketing content. Each episode is a 10 to 15 minute interview with industry experts that share amazing insights to help you squeeze as much juice from your content as you possibly can. Here's today's interview.
Welcome back to another episode of Content Amplified. Today I'm joined by Lindsay. Lindsay, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
You bet. Lindsay, I'm excited for this conversation, but before we dive in, 2 questions we ask every single guest. What do you love about content and marketing? And then catch us up on your career.
Oh, what do I love about content and marketing? Let's see. I think my favorite thing about it is that it's very authentic if you do it the right way. It's educational. It offers value to the people who are consuming it. And it just kind of, gives that glimpse inside of the company and how dedicated they are to educating and serving, their community for whatever product it is or service that they sell. And then just a tiny bit about me. Been in marketing since the late 90s, worked my way through a lot of different companies, large to small. Been a HubSpot partner, had a couple of HubSpot agencies, and now I'm with Sonar Software, and I am just having a blast so far.
Love it. I love it. And that's the coolest name ever for a company, by the way. I love that name.
Thank you.
So Lindsay, this term is something that I am obsessed with, that you shared with me, that I'm really excited to talk about. And it's the idea of the Thanksgiving turkey concept for content. And I'm just hungry thinking about it. I love Thanksgiving turkey, but when it relates to content, what do you really mean about the Thanksgiving turkey concept? What does that mean?
So this is a term I've been trying to get to stick for a long time. I've used it with so many different teams. They always understand it. It's really an easy concept to understand. It's really, you create pieces of content, and a lot of people call it repurposing. I like to call it, let's Thanksgiving turkey this whole entire piece of content here. I'm trying to make it a verb. But it's basically how many different pieces of content can I get out of this one piece that I've created? Take, for example, an ebook or a white paper, which, they're running their course. People still produce them. They used to be huge. Now it's the gated content. Do we gate it? Do we not? Well, we don't gate anything anymore. And what we'll do is we'll take a piece of content that is written by a subject matter expert, and we'll actually see how we can enhance it with things like AI, running it through multiple different people. But then we've got this really big, meaty piece of content, and it's got all these different sections and pieces and parts. And so I'll use one of our latest, we actually just did an AI for ISPs piece of content. And so what we did was we took that and said, okay, now how many different pieces of additional content can we create out of this little bird? So we were able to get 7 blog posts out of this, which was absolutely amazing. And then from that, not only did we get 7 pieces of content there, then I was able to go, okay, well, great. Let's take this and do an interview with the subject matter expert all about this piece of content. So dumping it back into AI, prompting, asking a lot of questions, getting some really key, deep questions that I could ask the subject matter expert, and then do a video interview with this particular individual. And then from that, you've got a 20-minute piece of content that you can put up on YouTube. So there's another piece of content you're getting out of it. Then you take it and, we're on Riverside right now. We know the drill. We take this content and it has magic clips in it. So AI will go in and say, let me find the juiciest little nuggets that I can inside of this interview. And so then I'm able to take that, turn it into 1-minute snippets, put it up on YouTube as shorts. Also now put it on LinkedIn with captions, because that's what captures attention. And then go back into some of these blog posts and incorporate some video into these pieces as well, so that people can actually consume some, super high level 1-minute little snippets and snackables. I'm very food oriented over here. Snackables, Thanksgiving turkeys. And that's how we do it. It's not really simple, but it's as simple as that.
I love that. And I think it's such a compelling, visual experience to really think through that, and how do we get the most value out of this experience. So one of my questions is like a logistical follow-up, because I like to get really tactical here on the podcast. all of those little snippets, are they meant to be standalone pieces, or are they all trying to drive to that core main piece of content? Is that kind of the overall objective, or is a lot of it kind of that no-click format? Like, how do you kind of look at the repurposing and its actual purpose?
The actual purpose is just what you said. We want to drive people to learn more, always give them a next step, drive them back to that bigger piece of content once we've given them enough pieces of content. And so, one of the things that we're going to be looking at doing in Q4 is being able to take some of those videos and snackables. And also, here's another little tiny layer of Thanksgiving turkey, turn one of those snippets into a meme. So take the concept, brainstorm with Gemini, which is our Waldorf instance. That's the AI that we use inside of our organization, and say, give me some fun ideas to capture and engage our audience. Get them to laugh at it. Everybody has something you can relate to in a meme. And then get them to click on it and have that as a paid LinkedIn ad to bring more folks in. And then the next thing you serve them is the little snippet of video. Okay, great. That's amazing. Hey, I can invest 60 seconds and maybe I don't even listen to it because I have the captions there and I can say, wow, I resonate with that one thing that this expert is saying about, AI inside of my ISP and how to use it. And then, the step after that is let's, hey, there's a full blog about it with additional pieces of video content within it, and then driving them maybe to the blog. As effective as it is to get people to actually fill out the LinkedIn form, I want to just keep educating them to the point where they're just ready to ask us. Like, I want to see this demo now. You've given me so much to think about, so much information. So driving them to the blog, at the end of the blog, you drive them to the full episode, the end of the full episode, you drive them to a demo. And, when they're ready, they'll be ready. And supplementing along the way with a sophisticated workflow of lead nurturing through whatever your marketing automation tool is really just going to keep that content front and center for that person and kind of surround them in a multi-channel way, which is the objective, is to kind of surround them, make them feel like, wow, these guys are everywhere and they're giving me all this great information, and then being helpful for them. So, which ultimately drives it,
Yeah, and I think that that's the perfect way to look at value add content. And I love that approach to say, hey, can we provide so much value that they inherently say, okay, these are the experts. I'm curious, what do they do? Oh, great, I need to work with them. And I love that perspective. Now, I'm going to try to string out this analogy for the whole episode, so I apologize if it gets really brutal. But when you're looking at carving that turkey up, certain people like the dark meat. Certain people like different cuts of meat, different shapes and sizes, things like that. How are you analyzing the best ways to repurpose based off of the needs and the wants of your audience?
We look at the interactions that we get on social media primarily, to be really honest. We're also, because we're a HubSpot shop, we're also able to see if we know who the people already are who are engaging with us, because maybe they filled something out in the past. We're able to track and see what's getting the most engagement. Inside of your marketing automation platform, there are those little nuggets that you can follow, especially if you look at your top 25 accounts and go in and see if they're in there, they're engaging. It's pretty easy to filter that and say, oh, this organization is coming to the website. And then looking at the context you have in there and saying, what are they engaging with? Are they clicking? Are they viewing? Are they engaging on social? Are they liking it? So that's really what we do. And, we're finding that video is far surpassed most of the pieces that we're creating. People, really like that quick, digestible, easy to consume piece of content. And so, that's what we're kind of doubling down on and serving. But we do still have all the larger pieces, because you know how it is in the funnel. And, as you get farther down the funnel, the people who are really engaged, they want that information. So they're going to go in, they're going to read that piece of content, because now they're intrigued, they want to learn. And that's really how we look at it.
I love that. So you mentioned target accounts. Now, how are you leveraging that in, and it sounds like you potentially have some ABM efforts and things like that going on. How do you leverage those interactions with your content into, getting the account to interact with you more or move them further down the sales funnel?
It's really invaluable for the sales reps to have this information, because then they're able to do their personalization, their personalized touches. We have some plans for, going into Q1 2025. new year, new budget, new ideas. So we're setting the stage now to kind of try to dig in as deep as we can to see how these ABM experiments, I guess you could say, are working. Honestly, I lean on my communities so much. I have multiple Slack communities with, CMO Coffee Talk and Pavilion and all these different places where you're able to bounce ideas off of people. And I'm never shy about asking, what is working for you guys, and getting ideas from those folks as well as to what they see that's working, especially if it's something within, your world, which obviously for us is SaaS. What are people responding to and reacting to? And then go and test it with your own audience. It's not going to be the same for everyone. But I find if you just bring together more minds, more collective ideas, you can really start to get something creative going when it comes to ABM.
I love that. Okay, back to the analogy.
Okay,
so,
more turkey.
More turkey. I love it. We're just a couple months away from it right now.
I
So
know.
when it comes to your content and repurposing, how do you know that the turkey isn't any good anymore? That you shouldn't be like redistributing and pushing that out, and kind of the life cycle of that content may have passed for the moment. How do you judge that and measure that in your own efforts and know when it's time to pull out a new bird in the whole situation?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. Well, because you've got different sized birds, right? So if you've got a whole family to feed, you've got a very large bird. So you can chop it up into a lot of different dishes. But we use the metrics, we use the engagement. We will go back and repurpose, reuse. Because think about it this way too. Let's say you've got a really well performing snackable that's a minute. What if you take it and transition it to an audiogram? See if people engage with it there. What if you take it and turn it into a LinkedIn carousel, which is what we've been experimenting with as well, to see if you can get some fresh folks coming in. When your TAM is smaller, which ours is, you're going to eventually start to reach everyone. But my rule of thumb is once everybody in the company is like, okay, Lindsay, we are so sick of seeing this. That to me means we're finally reaching everybody outside the company. You can't overshare. I mean, don't let the fear of feeling like you are a broken record with saying the same thing over. Don't let that scare you, because people aren't sitting there just looking at your LinkedIn feed all the time or just looking at your blog all the time. Or you have to be able to distribute this content in multiple different ways, in multiple different places. And while you may feel you're oversharing, you're finally starting to probably capture the attention of your audience. So, but we'll look at those engagement metrics. And if they really start to go down and less people are clicking on things, it's time to put that one away for a little while. But you don't put it away and leave it away. You bring it back out later, a few quarters later, and see if you can refresh it. See if you can put new skin on it. See if you can put more data into it, add more value to it, because as technology moves fast, you can find a lot more content to throw into that piece to add that value to it. And your subject matter experts inside your organization, they're keeping their finger on the pulse of those things. So it's very easy to go back and say, okay, since we worked on this piece last year, what's changed? How do we add more to that? So it's so much easier than starting from scratch every single time. And I think people make that mistake sometimes too often. We don't have to keep creating new. We have to distribute what we have and make sure that we're putting it into packages that are attractive to the folks that we're trying to reach and helpful to the folks that we're trying to reach.
I love that. And you jumped the gun on me right there, because I was about to ask, how do you prevent it or how do you use your leftovers actually and kind of repurpose? I love that you're injecting new life into it. I think sometimes as marketers, we'll go back into the archive and say, great, we have this old piece of content, we should use it again. But I love this concept of saying, hey, let's go back to that subject matter expert. Maybe let's get an update or get a new take on it and a new spin on it and incorporate that back into the piece of content. It's almost like you're rejuicing up the bird and making it tasty again because there's something new and incorporate it into that.
Yeah. And Ben, think about it this way too. Like you have your subject matter experts, but now you have all of these large language learning models that as long as you've got it, tuned in properly, then you understand how to prompt and how to ask it the right questions. You can actually get that to help you as well. That is a really, really valuable tool for getting even deeper insights into what's going on in the industry, because these things are always learning. And if they can give you ideas that then you can take back to the subject matter experts, brainstorm with them as well. You can brainstorm with a large language learning model and then take it to the SME. And it's such a deep way to get to the root of a lot of these challenges that people are experiencing so you can answer their questions.
I love it. Lindsay, I think that's a great stopping point for us today. I think that this was a great episode. I learned so much. I love the analogy. I love everything about it. Lindsay, I'm sure there are going to be people that are curious and want to continue the conversation, potentially connect with you on some of these networks, but how and where can they find you?
Absolutely. I am a LinkedIn person for sure. So if you go to linkedin.com/in/Lindsay Kelly, all smushed together, and it's Lindsay with an AY, Kelly with an EY. Would love to connect with you folks. Just drop a note in there so that I know that you're coming from Ben.
Love it. Perfect. Well, Lindsay, again, thank you so much for the time and insights today.
Thanks for having me, Ben.
Thank you for listening to the Content Amplified podcast. Please subscribe and leave us a review. And for additional ways to get more out of your content, visit our website at getmasset.com. That's getmasset.com. And tune in next time to the Content Amplified podcast.